So the controversial flexi-wing rules in 2024, teams like McLaren of course taking full advantage of these. I think Ferrari were another one as well, but it was very much something that didn't change in terms of the rules until 2025. But now the FIA has tightened this, so I'm going to go into what the FIA have said about this, what's been said about these rule changes and how it might affect things going forward, because this is something that could well hurt the Constructors' Champions from last year, McLaren, in their title defence. But let's have a look at this, guys. Full article over on the F1Chronicle.com as always. The FIA has announced a clampdown on flexible wings for the 2025 season, with more stringent deflection tests set to be introduced from the Spanish Grand Prix in June. Amid flexi-wing controversies mainly involving McLaren, the governing body looked deeply into the matter last season, but ultimately declared that the rules would remain stable for 2025. However, it now emerges that the FIA will in fact tighten up the deflection test by 5mm to apply only from the Spanish Grand Prix at the beginning of June. Based on further analysis by the FIA after the 2024 season, we are determined to ensure that the flexibility of the bodywork is no longer a point of contention in 2025, a spokesman for the Paris-based federation confirmed. However, the FIA official added more stringent rear wing checks will actually begin immediately this season. As for why the front wing changes will only apply from Barcelona, it is believed it is because teams like Red Bull have already spent a lot of money developing their 2025 cars under the budget cap that would then immediately be declared illegal. Ferrari may also be dramatically affected, having delayed front wing development mid-season, awaiting for the FIA's decision, which ultimately declared that the rules will remain stable for 2025. Leo Torini, a well-known Italian journalist, says that he has heard rumours of sensational improvements in lap time from the new Ferrari in the simulator. Another Italian source, Autoracer, claims there is a broad belief among rival teams that McLaren played a key role in pressuring the FIA to tighten testing. This came after a season finale in which Ferrari showed excellent competitiveness and McLaren feared that Red Bull's comeback once the correlation and flexibility issues were resolved. Okay, interesting. So it very much appears as though the shoe is on the other foot when it comes to these regulations for the wings being flexible. So for those that don't know, just a very brief rundown of why this is such a point of contention. So basically, when a Formula 1 car is running at full speed, a lot of air pressure is going over the aerofoils, the front wing, the rear wing, any kind of bodywork, stuff like that, because basically you've got more air that is rushing over that piece of bodywork per second because the car is moving faster, if you know what I mean. So there's a greater load placed upon it. If there's a greater load placed upon it, then the wings will flex. Now, the amount that these wings flex is determined by the actual rules of Formula 1. This was a big point of contention, I remember, back in, I want to say 2012, maybe 2013, somewhere around then, where the flexibility of the bodywork basically meant in the FIAs that it was unsafe. So, because if these wings flex too much, then potentially you could have them actually hitting the floor in the case of the front wing, and therefore that is unsafe. Now, Formula 1 teams, despite how much turbulence a front wing like that would actually cause for the rest of the bodywork, it's actually kind of good for them in a sense because you get less aerodynamic drag, because in general they are actually thinner, and also on top of that too, they weigh less as well. So it's very much a benefit and kind of negative analysis really when it comes to that. But on the whole, flexible front wings do actually help Formula 1 cars, or at least they have to, because otherwise why would they be doing it? Now, throughout 2024, we actually did hear some things on this as well, this rear wing being one of them as well. A lot of controversy around that, and eventually it was kind of banned after Singapore. I mean, there was a lot of different aerodynamic kind of devices and stuff like that for McLaren and Red Bull in particular, very stringently, assessed by the FIA. Ultimately, there was nothing severe in terms of disqualifications or anything like that we've seen in the past for barge boards being dodgy for Ferrari back in '99, I think, that they were disqualified but then reinstated. There was nothing like that. And the 2025 regulations, despite all this, were meant to stay the same. Now, I do understand why they're wanting to change them, why they're wanting to tighten them up. It is a bit strange how they're only doing it halfway through the season, but again, in a budget cap, cost cap era, I do understand it, because if a team like Red Bull or Ferrari or McLaren or anybody has spent millions of dollars developing their front wing, their rear wing, just to have it basically said, no, can't do that, you can't do that, you can't enter that car, then that is millions down the pan, and they might well fail the cost cap for it. And Formula 1 on the whole is just a poorer sport, really, because you've got less development there and less cars at the front being competitive. I think I speak for most F1 fans when I say that I want the competitiveness at the front. I want to see 4 teams potentially going for the title this year. I want to see it. I think Mercedes will probably struggle. I think we'll probably see only 3, you know, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari as well on top of that. But we'll have to see what happens. So it is strange in a sense they're only bringing this in for the midpoint of the season in Spain, but I do understand their thinking because Formula 1 is different now. If this was in the pre-cost cap era, then they'd just bring it in straight away because they could just develop the way out of it. But in a cost cap era, they have to be very careful with what they do at the end of the day. So it sounds like it could well be a big blow to Ferrari, but only halfway through the season. Whatever designs they've been working on, if those sources are accurate, I mean, take the Italian sources as you will. I mean, obviously the whole of Italy wants Ferraris, but for Ferrari to win a championship. So of course they'll be saying stuff like this, selling papers, getting clicks on websites and stuff like that. That's the game. That's the game. It's always been the same. The medium has changed, but the media has not. It's just how they go about it. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm hoping for a very competitive season, but yeah, on the whole, I do get it because it does look a bit daft. It's not as much as it used to be, of course, and you know there is the safety aspect to it as well, and it's not a great look for Formula 1, but it's strange how they've decided to do this now. They could have easily just said around, because it was Monza and Azerbaijan where this really came to a head because you see very high speeds there. Again, the pressure on the ring is a lot more around those tracks. So it is strange how they brought it in now. They could have easily said after the Italian Grand Prix, for example, like, right, your wings are good for the rest of this year, but for 2025, you got to tighten that up. You got to make that stronger. You got to go within this deflection rather than this deflection. So it is odd how they've chosen to do this now, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Are the FIA doing the right thing here by changing the rules on flexible wings? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And who do you think is going to affect the most? Going off of that, it sounds like Ferrari and Red Bull will probably be impacted more than McLaren, which is odd because McLaren are the team that started this whole thing, and they seem to arguably be benefiting by it, if those rumours are to be believed anyway. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys, and if you want to support us some more, you can head over to our Patreon as well. Become a patron on Patreon. That'd be really, really appreciated. Help keep the lights on in here, and also you get to see some exclusive benefits as well. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Links in the description for that as always, and see you very soon.